Okay.
Okay, all right. So hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this conversation here with Andrea, who's an expert in mindfulness meditation. Welcome, Andrea. So
Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah, I'm so excited to introduce you here to my community and to the listeners. It's such an honor to have you here and learn more about who you are and what gifts you are going to offer.
It is definitely my pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Definitely. No, it's the pleasure is all mine. So to give our listeners an idea of where you are coming from and what your background is, I wanted to point out a few milestones or achievements on your career path. So here's a short summary of your different trainings, which is, I find, a very impressive package in very different fields. So Andrea holds a Master of Education in Counseling Psychology. She has a Master in Computer Science. She holds a certificate in mediation and has done various business trainings. And then on the holistic or healing side, you're holding a certification as a soul art guide. You did an apprenticeship with a shaman. And on top of all that, you grew up in a Tibetan Buddhist community where mindfulness meditation was probably part of your everyday routine. You're also the founder of the Buddhist project Sunshine Program and have been featured in publications such as the New York Times and Newsweek's, and you've been interviewed on NPR, CBC Radio, and CBC TV. So, as I understand it, you started out spending quite a few years of your career working in the corporate world and then working as a therapist until you shifted it around and started your own coaching business, incorporating the holistic practices that you acquired along the way. And today you call yourself a dream whisperer, which I found such an inspiring and uplifting title. And you're using all your experiences, knowledge, and wisdom in your transformative life coaching to, in your words, guide clients through emotional impasses, integrating the learning as part of achieving their goal. So you offer transformative life coaching to help people identify their true dreams and help them overcome the fear of making them real and take action. As your clients reach their goals holistically in a short period of time. And today you're here to enlighten us on your experience with mindfulness meditation and its benefits, and especially focus on trauma. So I'm not sure if there's anything else that you want to add here. Otherwise, I'm jumping to my first question.
I would be very much excited for you to jump into your first question. Let's get into this.
Good, we'll do that. Cool. Okay. So as I mentioned, you grew up in a Buddhist community, and meditation was probably a pretty regular practice or routine. But tell us a little bit more about what is your personal connection with meditation?
Well, the thing that distinguishes me from a lot of Western people is that I grew up in a Tibetan Buddhist community in the United States. And so I was meditating, but also I was exposed to a lot of the original Tibetan Buddhist masters that came out of Tibet. When the communists invaded Tibet, that was a terrible thing, and sort of like the ray of light that came from such a terrible thing is it actually brought masters out of Tibet and into the rest of the world. So I grew up in a community that was founded by one of those masters, and he brought in many visiting masters. So I got to have connection with a lot of the original Tibetan masters, which I believe that they've all died now, the ones originally from Tibet. So that was, I guess the reason why I bring that up is that because being in the presence of someone who has developed themselves so deeply, it's transformative. So just getting to encounter and be in the presence of their energy and receive blessing from them, I feel like that was a huge thing that I got growing up that a lot of people, say in the United States, did not get as they were growing up.
Yes.
So that was that. And then also meditation. And just to share a funny little story, that what got me into meditation, like my mom was very eager to get my brother and I to start meditating, and we really weren't interested. And so the way that she first got us meditating was she paid us. Yeah, I know. 50
Cute.
cents a half hour. So that is what got David, my brother, and I started meditating, was getting paid 50 cents per half hour to
Uh-huh.
meditate. So, and then I'll just, add that, that was my growing up experience. And, it did take root more in a personal way when I was, I guess, just before I was turning 16. I just, I had one of those sort of life crisis experiences that can, really shift a person's course. I was in a really bad automobile accident, and it caused me to really think about where I was heading and what was important. And I felt like, whoa, I need to get serious. I need to take my life seriously. And so that is actually when I shifted to really embracing Buddhism myself. I took refuge vows at that point. And I started, starting to seriously study and starting to seriously practice it myself.
Yeah.
So that was at around, 15, turning 16 is when I started embracing it as really my own path. And then that did lead to, in my early adult years, going through many things that you need to go through in order to be accepted as a Vajrayana. So I've been practicing Vajrayana Buddhism since 2000 and, the year 2000 is when I became a Vajrayana practitioner. So about the last 23 years, I have been practicing Vajrayana Buddhism. And so it's, just maybe a little bit deeper, more serious commitment I've been bringing to my path in that time.
Well, that's fascinating. That seems like such a huge immersion into this a very different practice, and also being around these masters must have left quite an impression. Even maybe, as a young child, we don't always notice it or see the benefits right away. But I think in the big pictures, looking back, I can imagine that you probably can, put some connections there that only later on made sense in your life, and that you can draw some strength from too. So this is fascinating, and I love the little story that you had, that the nudge that you needed from your mom that we often need sometimes, to be kind of start something new. That's really cute. So meditation definitely has been a big part of your life, and also obviously has helped you with some personal issue. And it almost seems like you found a way to use one to overcome something else. And I wonder, is this part of your why? Like, how were you drawn to offering meditation guidance for people who have been through trauma?
Okay, that's a great question. Because, I think people generally think of meditation as something very peaceful and think of Buddhism as something very peaceful. But I know that, many people, either they've been through the experience or those that have looked a little deeper, know that there are some problems in some Buddhist communities and really in religious communities. We all widely know what has happened in the Catholic Church. So in fact, in the Buddhist community that I was brought up in, it did have this shadow side. It was run as a cult, in a cult style, and as well was rampant sexualized violence, including impacting the kids and including impacting me. So I had a real intertwining of both all the beautiful things I was receiving, intertwined with very confusing abuse and boundary violations. So basically really challenging experience to grow up in. And later in adult life, I had to do a lot of healing, both conventional, traditional healing, therapy, and also some more cutting edge chakra based trauma release therapy. Like I really immersed myself for a number of years to help myself get to a much better place. And so really it was from there is that I in sort of the end of 2016 came to this place of I need to do something about this darkness in this community. The community I grew up in was the Shambhala Buddhist community, and I felt like I needed to bring light to that. And so I found my way in. I was very grounded. I did a lot of preparing work beforehand, and I was very grounded. And so I launched this social justice activism project called Buddhist Project Sunshine. And the purpose was to bring healing light to what has been going on in the Shambhala Buddhist community. So at that point, this was a Tibetan community that could well have been the largest Tibetan Buddhist community in the West, very influential. And so, it was pretty crazy that me, one person who, had been a child growing up in it, was, wanting to, basically combat the darkness that was happening there. But in fact, because of the work that I had done to prepare myself, I met all the challenges. And in the year of 2018, with this organization I started, Buddhist Project Sunshine, we successfully exposed the leader, the guru, as a sexual predator. And like basically the secret was out. So that has allowed healing to begin to happen in the community. The experience of doing that really hardcore justice activism in 2018, it took everything from me. And so in, late 2018, beginning of 2019, once the work was completed, my system really crashed, and my nervous system had been very compromised from that experience. And so in early 2019, I was just like, kind of like, emotionally hanging on by a thread. Like like I was so sensitive that any little thing, any little injustice that I saw anywhere, it would just like throw me off of, my tracks. And I just was in such a challenged place. And so and also because of what had happened and everything that I'd learned, I had stopped meditating. Like it was hard for me to meditate. Having learned meditation from this community that had also been so abusive.
Right.
So I think it was in March of 2019, I was just like, how can I help myself? And I thought, when I used to meditate regularly, I felt a lot better. And so I decided to give myself the gift of easing back into meditation. And I thought that the easiest way to do that was to take my own self-study course that I had created a few years before then, called the Kickstart Your Meditation program. And so it was a program that just sent me daily emails and guided me through this gentle process. And it got me meditating again. And I noticed that I felt so much better again. And it was like such a huge help. However, having gone through what I'd gone through, I also really noticed that my Kickstart Your Meditation program, it was not trauma informed. Like there were certain parts of it kind of, rubbed me the wrong way after this traumatic experience I'd gone through. And so that is what inspired me to heavily revise the program and to make it a trauma informed meditation program, including giving, some trauma skills for, how to deal with triggers and things like that. And so this is maybe a little bit of a long answer, but this is what brought me into this place of passionately wanting to be able to offer guidance for meditation for people who have been through trauma, because, when you've been through trauma and it's, still in that stage of being a wound, it's really hard to meditate. And I mean, everything can feel hard. So knowing that having a regular meditation practice can be so helpful, and that it can be hard to start meditating if you've been through trauma, I was like, I need to create, this way of helping people to develop a meditation practice that is honoring of where they're at when they've been through trauma. So I'll just check to see if that answer makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, it was, I'm just kind of in awe of your strengths, you know, how you tackled all this and how you worked your way through personally, and then also tackled it on a much wider level through your activism work. And I feel like it makes a lot of sense, you know, that you stopped meditating for a little while, just kind of having to figure out because you had this tight connection to the community, but then found your way back to it. And you know, you touched a little bit on the wound of trauma and why it's difficult for people who have trauma to meditate. I'm not sure if you want to go a little, if there's a little bit more that you want to extend there in the, you know, in your experience, why it's difficult for people to meditate, you know, that have been through trauma.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to go a little deeper on. So even before my activism in 2018, I had been teaching meditation, and a lot of people that were coming to me said, I just can't meditate. And I can't sit still. Like I have too much anxiety. And I don't, I think you probably have a lot of experience with trauma as well. And I'm not sure what your views are, but I believe that everybody has been traumatized. Either they themselves directly or through a loved one being traumatized and them experiencing it vicariously through their loved one.
Yes.
So I think that is something that everyone is having to deal with. And, you know, some people, they have worked through their trauma and other people haven't. And if it hasn't been worked through, then, you know, it is kind of like, you know, something that's under the carpet, but it's not gone. And when you sit and you're quiet with yourself, then those gremlins from under the carpet, they start to creep out and, you know, can be really uncomfortable. And, you know, got things safely contained away, and then they start coming out when you are sitting quietly with yourself, can be super uncomfortable. So I think that's why meditation can be really difficult for people that are, you know, doing healing around their trauma, or perhaps have trauma that is not yet healed. So does that make sense from your perspective?
Very much. Yeah, I fully agree with you. I do believe that we all hold trauma on some level of another, you know, for some people it's a bit deeper, but there's always certain things that shock our systems, then where we question ourselves and that leave an imprint. You know, that comes up again later on in life, maybe, that where we have to work through, and that we sometimes not always want to face. You know, it's sometimes easier to just put it away and not deal with it, and as you said nicely, you know, put it under the rug. But these gremlins do come back up. And I think we all experience that, again, to whatever level our trauma is. I personally I do meditate, but for me, it's always more been in the realm of, you know, to have a calm mind, to find kind of an inner peace and being in this state of bliss. I've never really taken it to the level of healing issues. So I found this fascinating. I've never really thought about that. And so I'm curious, because you have proposed that meditation can be a healing elixir for trauma. And so I'm curious how you approach that and how that works.
Okay. Well, I am known for being bold and, you know, saying bold things and taking bold things on. I do enjoy that. So, you know, I really, like, my perspective is very informed by what I have been through, and seeing how helpful the meditation has been for me, and also having experiences where meditation is not helpful, and really sort of seeing, you know, how can it be helpful? And basically, like, when we've been through trauma, it fragments our sense of identity, it fragments our sense of safety in the world. And so, you know, it can make us very jumpy, make our system kind of buzzy. And, you know, luckily, you know, human beings are just so amazingly resilient that, you know, so many of us, we can still manage to live life, and maybe even live a good life, even though we are having that sort of like buzzy kind of level. of experience after the trauma.
Yes.
And so the thing about, and another thing is that I think is important to bring in is, like they talk about, in childhood, when children experience trauma, one of the strategies that they will use is to hold their breath so that they then dissociate, so that they sort of spiritually leave their body. And that it's like a coping mechanism in childhood when we don't have any other way of dealing with being in a traumatic experience. So that escape, in light of this situation, that dissociation and escape is perhaps, a smart strategy to use. But, once we are able to move into adult years, that strategy, it no longer serves us.
Yes.
Because if every time we're feeling, scared or uncomfortable, we dissociate, then we're not being present in order to be able to meet whatever the challenge is. And so that holding of the breath and the dissociation it becomes a real problem for living a fulfilling life as an adult. So the meditation that I teach and that I practice, it is a breath-based meditation, very common shamatha meditation. And so the place where you bring your attention to is your breathing. And so if you can create a practice that feels safe for you, then that can be really healing, to be reconnecting with your breath. So there's that. And then also just training yourself to be able to stay present, even when uncomfortable things come up. That also is a big part of what meditation is training yourself to stay present. So, like the idea is that, when you notice that you have, left the room and you're across the world in France, when you notice that you bring yourself back into the moment, check in with your posture, come back into your body, and then return your attention to your breath. And that's a way of training your mind, to be able to come back and also to be able to stay longer. And so, with trauma, so much of it is about escaping and getting away from being present. And meditation is all about being able to bring yourself back to being present in your body, in your life. So it's incredibly healing. It is because it is a way of reconnecting your heart with your breath and being present in the moment. And being grounded and being present with your life so that you're able to create a beautiful life. They talk about the shadow of trauma, and you're dealing with unhealed trauma, you're leading a shadow life. So, this is a way of reconnecting, bringing sunshine back into your heart through this simple practice of being mindful of your body, being present in your body, and bringing attention to your breath, and really feeling that relationship with your breath. Because, over time, you can develop a really beautiful relationship with your breath. That breath feels so good to connect with. It gives a sense of spaciousness, because again, with trauma, it's all about narrowing and living a very narrow, safe life. And when you reestablish that connection with your breath, you're able to connect again with a sense of more spaciousness and peace and the calm that you talked about. But also you develop more resilience for when those moments of discomfort, anxiety, or whatever come up, or resilience for being able to ride through them instead of just having to reactively sort of tie into a nutshell. But you develop that strength to be able to be with them, because when you're meditating, things do come up. Like nobody else around, your mind brings things up. And by having that simplified situation of just meditating, you're able to develop your strength for being able to withstand and to meet and to ride through difficult emotions, difficult thoughts that come up, and again, just return home into your body, your sacred body, and return home to connection with your breath. So I know that these things, like they sound so simple, but when someone is healing from trauma, this is completely transformative. It can bring people back into living a really meaningful life and being able to have meaningful relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the challenge is how to be able to form a meditation practice
Yes.
after you've been through trauma. So I don't know if that is something that you're thinking of, you would like to get into, but that would be sort of like another piece to this puzzle.
Yes, no, definitely. This is fascinating. I didn't really expect it in that way. But so you're basically saying, I mean, I feel like it's almost like you're facing your fears. But you are in your body. So you bring yourself back in your body, you face your fears, but you're in this safe container where you're starting to trust yourself, you to believe in yourself and to feel safe. And then it's actually okay to face your fears. But it doesn't really have to do anything with reliving the trauma. So that is not part of the process at all. It's just like creating that container to face those fears and then probably let them go. Is this sort of how we can understand that a bit?
Yeah, I think that's a really nice way of putting it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Again, because I felt like I've meditated for so long. I mean, long, yeah, it's been part of my life, but obviously never in that depth. But I never looked at it, to use it in that form. But that's really a very fascinating way, and something I feel like that's something I'd like to try, to see how that goes. I think that's a really cool process. And I like how you described that you opened up, a space within you and give yourself more room. And, because these traumas do keep us small, do keep us inside and kind of dim our view of life, keep it very much in a box. And so opening this up and creating that space of safety and believing in yourself is really beautiful. So that's fascinating. Thank you. I love that. So with all this information, what are your 3 key tips for people who have been through trauma and who want to meditate, who want to give this a try, and
Okay. So I think that we've kind of effectively said why meditation can be so helpful. And so, yeah, the big challenge is, if you're experiencing, a lot of anxiety, just can't sit still, how can you be able to tap into this elixir of healing? So that is really the wonderful challenge that I've really sunk my teeth into. So one thing that I think is really important, like, pretty standard in trauma healing, they say that you need to heal in relationship, like the wounding happened in relationship. And so the healing really needs to happen in relationship. We can't just heal on our own. So the first thing is being able to find a suitable person to connect with, who can work with you around a trauma-informed meditation. I think that's very important. So that's a unique credential. Somebody who has some real literacy around trauma healing. Because if you just go to a meditation teacher who has no literacy, they will do things that potentially could harm you more.
Yes.
So it's really important to find a meditation teacher who is trauma informed and who is able to speak from that place. And sort of on the flip side of it, just if you're only seeing like a trauma therapist, they don't necessarily know a lot about meditation, because meditation is, there's such rich depth available there.
Yes.
And so it's really finding somebody who really has experience, expertise in both sides of that, both the trauma healing and also the meditation. So that would be my first key, is looking around and finding somebody. If you can find somebody that's local, and that can be really wonderful to be able to meet in person. Otherwise, I think there's a lot available on the web. So I think that can be a first key. first of all, for starting a meditation practice that's healing, but secondly, for also continuing. Because if you have like a relational connection, that can really support you continuing even after you've started.
Yes.
The second key, like there's this aspect of trauma of having been forced into something you really didn't want to do.
Right.
So the aspect of being forced to do something. And I think, in so many meditation communities, there is kind of an aspect of this is the template, do the template.
I see.
That is really unhelpful for people who have been through trauma.
I see.
So I think it's also important to find a route into meditation that you feel like you've got permission to play, that there is space for you to be able to acknowledge what you're feeling. If you're having, reactions to the meditation, to be able to get support around working with those reactions. So really finding a way into meditation that is away from the standard, like religion template, but a way that's going to be a lot more flexible, a lot more responsive, so that, if you are just not in the space to meditate today, then it's okay for you to get up and to maybe go out for a walk with nature. So really getting away from that kind of like template approach to meditation, so that you are able to tap into freedom. Because I think that's a really important part of trauma healing is rediscovering that you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to acknowledge, wow, this is not feeling right in my body. This is not the right thing for me to do right now.
Yes.
And if I were to offer a third like key, if you have been through trauma and you want to start meditating, would be to create a space of play around it. Like in my program, the Heal Your Heart Through Meditation program, a big part of it is connecting with your inner child. So the whole formation of the meditation practice is done in connection with your inner child.
Okay.
So you're actively journaling, dialoguing with your inner child, getting his or her input, because our inner child is able to like bring in that sense of magic that, can especially be missing for someone who's been through trauma and maybe just goes to a standard meditation place. It can be very challenging to connect with that inner child and the magic part. So finding like, could even be a first step is just dialogue with your inner child saying, hey, I heard this conversation about meditation. I'm thinking it might be helpful for moving into a better place.
Yes.
Is that, what are your thoughts?
Yes.
Is that something you'd like to try?
Yes.
Like connecting with the inner child helps us to move into a softer place. And again, that's so healing from that experience of trauma. Like trauma just feels like, this, harsh, big, like black dragon or something. And that, we're just so scared. And it's like, or we can move away from maybe that experience to being in a gentle meadow, a warm day in a gentle meadow, a light breeze, there's butterflies, flying by, like being able to create your meditation practice in more of that sort of meadow-like experience.
Yes.
And I really think that there's a lot more access to that softness, that gentleness through the connection with our inner child.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
No, I love that. And I think as you describe it, but I mean, be kind with yourself, be gentle with yourself, and really honor yourself for what you have been through. And the inner child is a very playful place or place to connect and to be. And I can see that we need to approach it from that way and just really open up that space and give it the freedom, because I believe if we kind of push it into a system again, then it will shut down, and then I guess it can totally go backwards if we just tell people what to do, because obviously they have been forced in the past, so they don't want to be forced. I guess some old memories will come up, and and then all old mechanisms will come into place, and that's not healing at all. So I love how you're offering, this very gentle surrounding of how to approach this, and as you say, do this with guidance and with somebody who's very skilled and experienced, which I feel you have a lot of experience in that, and in today's world with the technology and everything, we can always we can reach people everywhere. So in that sense, again, I feel this is a topic, this, trauma, as we talked before, a lot of people have been kind of touched by this in some way or another, and could really benefit also from your guidance. So how can people get in touch with you, or how can they find you? What are you offering for people? What are your packages or or sessions? How does it look like?
Okay. Well, specifically for the trauma-informed meditation, I have this, truly it is an amazing, it's like I have developed it over years. This 7-week self-study meditation program called Heal Your Heart Through Meditation. And it is available at www.healyourheartthroughmeditation.ca.
Okay, we'll put that
and we can post it. So that is it's a very healing program. It helps you either create like if you've used to meditate and you've fallen off, it helps you to create meditation practice that is feeling comfortable and healing for you. And if you've never meditated, it also can start you from ground zero in creating your personal healing meditation.
Yes.
So that is a great program for getting people started with a really healing meditation. And so people can, I offer most of the work that I do is focused on helping people that are at the next stage, like after they have moved past that sort of initial trauma healing, in a place where they're wanting to help others. That stage that I do a lot of my live work with, of helping people to discern what their gifts are and helping them to start a business where they're able to be offering people their gifts through a paid service. So people are always welcome to join. I offer a fair amount of free programs where people can join in. And and as well, if people want to try the Heal Your Heart Through Meditation program that have listened to this, I offer a 2-week free trial. I think it's important for people to be able to try it for 2 weeks, see if it's feeling like a fit before they invest in the full program. I think that's really important, especially for people that have been through trauma. It's important to get out of the all or nothing place and into a place of, you can explore this, see if it's a fit before you commit. And then as well, for anybody that's listening to this, if you decide that you would like to do the full program, I would be happy to offer you $100 off coupon as well. So if you listened to this, if you email me and say, I saw this interview with Nicole and I would really like to accept your offer of the $100 off coupon, then I will send them a coupon. So I also would love to offer that as well.
That's beautiful. I love how you guide people on the different stages on their journey. That's amazing. And then also really help them to even, set them off so they can go on and teach their own programs. That's amazing. So we will certainly put these links in the replay, in the comments, and so that people can find you and know where to reach you. And I want to thank you, Andrea, so much for this insightful conversation about trauma meditation. That was beautiful and was very enriching for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people too. So, and in that sense, let's check if there's something, if there's some questions maybe. But otherwise, I think, let's see, I don't see any questions here. Huh?
That's too bad. I would love it if there were people asking questions about this.
Yes, we will post this this recording on the Facebook page. And if people have questions, please contact Andrea directly. And again, the links will be there, how you can reach her and or otherwise tag her in the posts. And I know it can be of immense benefit for you.
Yeah.
So
people can feel free to reach out through Facebook Messenger or through email. I'm definitely, definitely very available through either of those routes.
Awesome. Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
So much.
This was
It was such a pleasure.
Experience. And I really value the opportunity to be sharing a few things from, what I know, and hope is a benefit to some people who have been through similar experiences and like to start meditating.
I'm sure this is very valuable information. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm sure a lot of people do too. Thank you so much, Andrea.
You're welcome.
Right. Take care and have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.